want to formally welcome everyone to today's second webinar of the day, Developing Effective Internal Communications in the Contact Centre. I'm Rachel and I'll be your webinar chairperson for today. So got a great fully packed agenda for today and delighted to introduce two new speakers to our webinar. To Katie Bunting from OVO Energy, welcome to your first webinar.
Thank you.
And for people who missed it at the start or who don't know who OVO Energy are, could you share a bit about what you guys do?
Of course, so OVO Energy is a domestic energy provider, so we're one of the smaller independent energy providers, and we have both pay monthly and pay-as-you-go customers across two brands, so OVO Energy and Boost Energy as well, and my role there is Internal Communications Manager, specifically looking after our contact centre.
And I've been seeing your new television adverts. They've been following me around since we had our briefing last week. So yes, having not seen it, I've seen it a lot. So I'm delighted to have our second speaker as well, to Stephanie Lee from RingCentral. Welcome to the webinar.
Thanks, Rachel. Glad to be here today.
And for those people who don't know a bit about RingCentral, what you guys do.
Yeah. Sure. So RingCentral is a leading provider of cloud unified communication and cloud contact center solutions. And everything we do here in terms of our vision and our product solution, it's all about empowering our customers to be able to deliver a great experience to their customers. So yeah, that's what we do, and I'll be telling you a little bit more in my presentation.
Great, well, we look forward to it. So we are taking a replay of today's webinar. It will be available later on this afternoon on this link. And also just to say that the conversation is going on in the chat room. We've already got a lot of people logged in. It is in a separate window, so you do need to put them side by side. But you can download a copy of both speakers' sets of slides from there. The added advantage is also that we are running our usual champagne or box of chocolates for the best tip. You just need to put hashtag question for a question and hashtag tip for a tip so we can identify them. So we've been asking, how would you describe internal communications in your contact center environment? And we've said, Sophie said that email is used a lot, but key messages often get missed. We've had quite a few other people join. We've had Candice from Lexington, we've got Daniel from London, and Albert from the Philippines. So I want to launch our first poll, which is, how do you communicate with your staff? Email, team meetings, wall boards and or notice boards, intranet platforms, e.g. Yammer, or social media. So it is a multiple choice, so I'll put that on the screen now. So Katie, I don't know what you've seen and what you're expecting to see, if you were betting.
Yeah. Ooh. It depends really, I guess. I reckon there's going to be a lot of people who are using email. I know for us that's well, certainly was a big channel. For us, we also use intranet and sort of social media, probably the key ones. But if I was betting, I think email is probably going to be one of the top ones. So I'm very interested to see.
Fab, I will share the results with you. So 98% say email, 89% say team meetings, 52% say wall boards and notice boards, 41% say intranet and platforms, and 15% social media. Stephanie, I don't know whether that's something that you'd have expected as well.
Yeah, definitely expected emails on top, but 90%, that's that's huge. So yeah.
Brilliant. Well, I think that leads us on great to be able to hand over to our first speaker. I'm going to hand it over to Katie, so I'll make you the presenter.
Thank you. Right. There we go. Can you all see my screen?
I can, yes.
Perfect. Brilliant. Well, thank you very much. So as I said at the beginning, my name is Katie and I work for OVO Energy. I just wanted to start my presentation just by giving you a little bit of a background about the company. So we're not your average energy company. We was founded in 2009 by Stephen Fitzpatrick, who was a banker at the time, who felt that there was a much better way to do provide energy to customers. He was frustrated with his own confusing energy bills and really felt that there was a better, more customer focused way. I've been with the company since 2013, so 4.5 years now. And when I joined, we had 150 employees across a London and a Bristol office. And today we have 1,500 employees across 6 separate offices and a field force team. And we went from sort of 150,000 customers when I came on board to sort of pushing 1 million customers now. So we have grown considerably in that time. And that's not just sort of, you know, boasting about the company. That's just to give you hopefully a bit of a feel for how we're sort of a fast growth company and some of the challenges with internal communications that presents. So not only have we grown in terms of the size of the company, but we've really diversified as well. So we've gone from being just a company that provides domestic energy to a company that delivers smart technology, heat technology. We offer EV, sort of electric vehicle tariffs now, and we've also sort of moved into the boiler insurance space as well. So again, it's, you know, there's a lot of change, and that sort of has a knock-on impact on our customer service advisors and the service that they're delivering. So it's been an exciting place to work. And in my presentation today, what I want to do is just share with you some of the sort of 3 challenges that we've faced over the last 18 months and how we've personally tackled those. And I hope that this will give you some sort of tangible examples of how we've overcome them. The solutions may not completely fit what you're experiencing in your contact centres, but hopefully, you know, there will be some key takeaways from this. So the first challenge that I wanted to speak to you about was emails. So it's interesting actually that that's come up in the poll as the biggest channel that was used, because for us, when I joined with customer services team, it was very much the only channel that we were using, and it was incredibly noisy. We were, you know, there were emails in there that completely distracting from the messages that we really wanted to be able to get across to our employees. And I guess there were two types of emails that we needed to tackle. There was sort of team-to-team emails that were coming up, so that employees were sending to each other. And then also there was a lot of noise around the change and operational communications. And I'm going to talk to you about how we tackled both of those challenges. So the first one was that there was a lot of employees. It was the only channel in which employees could talk to each other within the contact centre. And just to give you a bit of a flavour of what I'm talking about, it was the sort of emails that were like, oh, has anyone got any painkillers? Can anyone swap a shift with me? Has anyone seen my mug? Or does anyone want to buy gig tickets this weekend? And I don't know whether you share those challenges, but, you know, they were sort of the things that were clogging up the inbox and distracting from, in my opinion, things that we wanted to get across to employees that were more need-to-know messages. But also we really recognised actually there really needed to be a place for this communication, that it was important that there was a place that employees could talk to each other and have these conversations, because they needed somewhere where they could talk about swapping their shifts, and they needed somewhere where they could, you know, talk to each other, share information. And so at the time in 2015, we had moved to Google. So across the business, we use Google. And as part of that package, we have Google Plus communities. So that's what we wanted to utilize. OVO Energy was founded by Stephen around his kitchen table, and our central intranet is called the kitchen table in sort of homage to that. And that is why our community for customer services is called the kitchen sink. That was the name that our employees wanted to call it, sort of in relation to our central intranet, just to explain the unusual name there. So as you can see, this is a place really where we are able to allow employees to have conversations that they want to have. It's their space, it's led by them, and it gives them the opportunity to have the conversations that they were previously having on email. As you can see from this page here, there's just a few sort of examples of things that are coming up. So we've got shift swaps on there, you've got your lost and found, we've got sort of important information from HR, for example, but we also use it as a place for reward and recognition. And our employee engagement team within customer services use it to share sort of their sort of praise of the week type things, but also employees share feedback that they might have had from a customer about another agent, or just any great stuff that they've had fed back, and they can share it here with everyone. The great thing about Google Plus as well is, as you can see on the left hand side, you can sort of segment the categories of information as well. So whilst it may look like all sort of one big news feed, that agents are able to dip in and split the sections, so they can just see what they're looking for as well. So it's easy for them to see what shifts are looking to be swapped and whether there might be someone who can help with that. The important thing to mention with social, and I sort of alluded to this at the beginning, and I think what I think is really great about it is it really works if it is the right solution to a problem. So for us, we had a really clear problem that we needed somewhere for our employees to be talking to each other, and introducing a social platform really worked to solve this problem. But I think there's a lot of conversation at the moment around whether people should be implementing social into their contact center, and I think from me, in terms of a top tip, it really works if it's the right solution. And for us, it has been really, really awesome. So that was sort of the first problem that we were experiencing with email, that there was all this sort of chatter. So once we'd sort of managed to remove all that, the second issue that we were having was around operational communication. And this comes back to the comment that was made sort of just before the webinar around, I think one person was saying about struggling with their marketing team and sharing information between those guys. And this was a challenge we were certainly facing. We had a lot of email going out about change. We are a very fast-paced environment. We are making change. We work in an agile way. Our product teams make changes sort of every 2 weeks. So there's, within those 2 weeks, there's a lot of changes happening. And when I first moved to work with the contact center, we were sending out up to sort of 5 cascade emails a day, separate emails with notice for a change, which could be anything from a system change to a product change, you name it, we were sending them out. And what we really wanted to be able to do was to consolidate that information and to make it easier for agents to digest. And we were just getting a lot of feedback from advisors that they felt that the information, things were chaotic. They didn't know what was going on. We didn't give them enough notice. They didn't feel equipped to talk to customers, and they just weren't able to deliver the customer service that they wanted to be able to because they didn't have the right information. So in order to overcome this, what we did was we had to work on our relationships with those teams, such as marketing, such as the product teams. And we had to speak to them about why it was so important that they were sharing the information with us early enough for us to be able to communicate it effectively. And a lot of the way that we did that was in terms of, particularly with marketing and things, when they want to have an effective sales campaign, for example, making it clear to them that the more time we can give advisors to digest that information, the better customer conversations they're having, therefore, more likely to have a sale, more likely to influence the customer, to be able to support a customer or direct them towards that information. And that was a challenging piece of work, building up those relationships, and we put a process in place where we have a cascade brief form now. So they submit their request for a cascade to us via a comms brief, and we then deliver it. Once we had that in place, that was great, because that meant that we were getting more notice. And we had more time then to actually work on the effectiveness of the communication, which is what this webinar is all about. So we really had the aspiration to be able to send one daily update, which is what we do now. So each morning, an advisor, when they come into work, at 7:30, this falls into their inbox. It is a daily update that they receive every single day. And it contains all of the updates that they'll need for that day. And we're really strict with that. If someone says, oh, we need this to go out today, if they miss the deadline, it has to wait till the next day. And it's really revolutionized the way we communicate to our employees. As you can see from the example on the right hand side, the Wednesday one, we do even send it if there is nothing to tell them, just because we want to keep that consistency to say, you're up to date, there are no cascades today. Don't have to worry. You can get on serving customers knowing that you know all the information that you need. And whilst in reality, actually, this hasn't necessarily meant we've always communicated anything any sooner to our advisors. You know, sometimes we still have to communicate it on the day. You know, there's no getting around that. We move quickly, and that is when we have to communicate. But the consistency and the sort of the comfort that advisors get from knowing when they're going to receive information has really helped improve the feeling of chaos and the perception of change in the organisation. And advisors really, the feedback that we've received is that they feel much more informed, they feel more on top of things, and they sort of know where they are and what information is coming through. In order to do this, we used a system called Popolo. So we now send all of our daily updates through Popolo, which is an email management platform. It allows us to design these sort of snazzy templates, which stand out in the inbox. It also allows us to integrate with our HR system so that we can target our communications, which I'm going to come on to a little bit more now. So the second challenge that we've been working on over the last year is how we can make our emails, or not just emails, but all of our communications more personal, how we can make sure that they're relevant to the employee, how we can make them more targeted so that we're not just filling their inbox with stuff they may or may not need to know. We are giving them targeted, relevant, interesting communications. And the first thing that I want to say around this is the most important thing is about listening to your employees. In terms of the daily update and the kitchen sink, we wouldn't have found the right solution or had the success with those if we hadn't have first listened to our employees and what their challenges were and what they actually needed. So I just wanted to give you a little bit of a flavour of some of the ways in which we listen to employees here at OVO. So these are just a few examples. We hold weekly feedback focus groups where our customer services director, Justin Haynes, meets with a group of advisors every week just to get a feel for how they're feeling, what's going on with them, any challenges that they're facing. We have an employee forum. We have a quarterly Q&A session where we have around 50 or so advisors from the contact centre have a Q&A session with the senior management team in customer services so they can ask anything they want to the senior management team. We record those and feed those back to the rest of the department. We have advocates who represent customer service advisors when we have scorecard meetings. We have straight talking, which is where we can deliver sort of like, you know, if we've had an issue that's come up a number of times, we'll give what we call a straight talking answer where we'll be really open and honest and we sort of say, you know, this is as far as that conversation is going to go. And then we have Think Tank as well, which is our sort of continuous improvement opportunity for advisors to have their say in that. And we also, on our knowledge base, we have a lot of space for questions, comments, etc., so that they can always feedback on whether the information we're delivering there is effective and is the right sort of thing that they need as well. So once, you know, you've obviously listened to your employees, in terms of us being able to deliver a more personalised communications approach, as I sort of mentioned with the daily update, Popolo has really revolutionised what we can do with emails. There are other platforms out there, that's the one we use. And what's great about it is it allows us to send one communication but target different parts of it to different areas. So for example, if we're sending a change communication, we can provide different information to our advisors, to our second line team, really simply. And we're able to report on that as well. And it just means that it helps us to, you know, continue with our objective of reducing email as well, and just reducing the amount that we're expecting our advisors to be reading and sort of accessing during the day, and just making sure that they have maximum time to be able to help and support our customers, which is what we want them to be doing. We're also able to use this with our intranet as well. So our central intranet system is also personalised. It has allowed us to segment information. So although it's sort of a group-wide intranet, we provide specific content for customer services on there, which helps drive traffic to it because it's relevant and interesting to them. But also being able to personalize things allows you to deliver some sort of surprise and delight moments. And this is an example of one of those. So with the intranet, we are able to do pop-ups. And this is a picture someone sent of a pop-up we delivered to them on their birthday. So we can do this really simply now with all employees because we've got that data in our HR database. And that's, you know, these things sometimes may seem small, they may seem you know, not trivial, but, you know, they're not, you know, they're not the need to know information of internal communications. But actually, the great thing about this is not only does that employee feel loved and there's that feeling that, you know, we care, it's personal, it's bespoke to them, but also it helps drive traffic to our intranet as well. So, you know, when people go there and have a great experience, they think, well, you know, I'm going to go again. And that again helps us as that to build that channel and to drive traffic towards that. So we've really been looking at personalizing employee comms, and we're really utilizing technology in order to help us to do that. And we've seen, you know, really positive feedback from employees that they've got less content to read and that it is more relevant to them. The final thing on that point actually is also with systems like Popolo, for example, if you have got reporting, you're then able to resend emails to people who haven't received them. And we're sort of trialing that at the moment with our daily updates. So if an employee does miss them, for example, we can just send it to them again, like, oh, you know, don't miss this one. And that's a great benefit as well. So the final challenge that I just wanted to talk about was how we take everyone on the journey. So at OVO, we've got a really clear vision around wanting to deliver sort of clean and abundant energy to all. And as Rachel mentioned at the beginning, we've got a campaign around that externally. It's a real passion. It's our vision. It's what's driving the company. And we want to make sure that, you know, whatever your role within OVO, you feel aligned to that vision. And there's a great story of when JFK went to visit NASA in the 60s, and he spoke to a janitor there and he asked him what he was doing, and he said, I'm helping to put a man on the moon. And, you know, that's the sort of level of alignment that we want from our customer service advisors to our group vision. We don't want them to just think, oh, you know, I'm just in the contact center taking calls. We want them to feel like they are really part of the vision and to understand what their role is in building the future OVO. So in order to do this, we have obviously a company-wide plan and objectives, but in terms of customer services, we have a really clear plan as well, which is really important to make it relevant to them. And at this point, I just wanted to shout out to Screwfix, if there's anybody listening from there. I recently went to visit their site, and they had a really clear 4-point plan on their wall and really visible across all the offices to their customer service advisors. And that really struck home with me, because actually when I started working with customer services at OVO, we had 9 objectives in our first year plan, and in our second one in 2017 we had 7 for 2017, which, whilst it was a great catchy title, again, it was just too many for everyone to remember and to really relate to. So this year we've got 4 key objectives that obviously underneath there are more metrics and objectives for our senior team and breaks down into different areas. But in terms of our employees understanding their role and their key part of the plan, we've got a really clear visual plan that we share with them and have across the office. And we share that with them in a couple of ways. The first way is through monthly town halls. So we have a monthly group-wide meeting where we take everyone off the phones for an hour. So we close our phone lines for an hour each month to have that meeting and talk about our company-wide objectives. And then for customer services specifically, we also have 2 sessions a year where we will update them on the customer service specific areas of the plan. So we have one of those in January and we have one of those in August as well. Our August one is a more fun one. So we follow it up with a social. So you can see here that even the senior management team get on board with the fancy dress for those. And it's an opportunity there for them to hear about the plans from the team who, you know, the teams who are leading on it, but also to ask questions as well. So we try and, whilst we're talking about business objectives, we also try and have a bit of fun with it as well. And whilst we have those big sort of sort of epic type updates, we also have a sort of a weekly drumbeat where we keep communicating the vision and how we're doing towards our objectives on a weekly basis. We have our customer services director, Justin, sends out a weekly update email each week, which has updates from across the department on sort of successes, some of the challenges, how we're doing performance-wise. And that just really keeps us talking about our progress and how we're doing, and just really helps again keep people aligned to the central vision. So that's kind of, in summary, really, what I wanted to talk to you about in terms of some of the challenges and how we've tackled them. The final point I just wanted to leave you on was about learning from others. And again, Rachel mentioned this at the beginning about how for OVO it's really important that we continue to learn. You know, we've made some really great steps in the last year or so around internal communication, but in no means have we got it all figured out. I think it's one of those things that's always an ongoing challenge, and that's what kind of makes it exciting, really, in terms of there's always a way to improve. But for me, I think the really biggest tip is to learn from your sort of contemporaries, really, and people who other contact centres. And I mentioned Screwfix, but this is just a snapshot of some of the companies we've either visited or had best practice chats with over the last year or so. And, you know, I think understanding what other people are doing and the successes they've had is completely invaluable. So that's the sort of final point I wanted to leave on, is that don't be afraid to sort of, you know, ask what other people are doing and share, because that's really the best way to learn. But yeah, that's all from me, and I'm happy to take any questions.
Fab. Well, we'll be coming to questions in a second. Thank you very much, Katie. That was great. And, you know, I have to say the kind of, as you mentioned, going and visiting other contact centres, it is something that we do a lot. We have a whole section on our website about site visits, and it is something I definitely recommend. There's quite a few companies like the CCMA and the Forum who run kind of site visits, so it might be worth contacting them, or, you know, just getting in touch. A lot of contact centres are, you know, always looking to kind of host and things like that. We reached out to Lego and they let us come along and look around their contact centre, which was brilliant. Wow. So I just want to put up this poll, which is, what's stopping you from building an online contact centre community? It is something that I think quite a few people have you know, put in the chat room. So the answers are nothing. We have one up and running. Nothing. We're currently considering creating one. Disinterest from the team. The pressures of keeping it active, and the thought that it may become a distraction. Katie, what do you think, you know, will be some of the answers?
Oh, it's interesting, because looking at that, it's just all the sort of things we thought about when we started with Google Plus. I think, I reckon the pressure of keeping it active will probably come up. And I think for us, there was also the worry that it might become a distraction. That was a big worry. So yeah, so I think maybe those, but
Fab.
Yeah, it'd be interesting.
I will share the results, and there we go. So 50% say the pressure of keeping it active, 43% the thought that it becomes a distraction, 30% say they've actually got one up and running, so brilliant to them, and 23% say disinterest from the team, and 7% say nothing, they're considering it. And obviously, Katie, you've given a lot of great tips on what you guys have done, so thank you very much. Stephanie, was that, you know, something that you've seen, you know, that result? Hello? Are you on mute at the moment?
Yes, sorry, I was on mute. Yeah, I would have thought maybe a bigger percentage on disinterest from the team, because I guess it is a challenge. It's great to have all these great tools, but one of the challenges is how to get, you know, my agent people in my team to actually use this tool, because if they're not using it, obviously there's no real interest. So I would have thought that would have been one of the key challenge, how to get people on board.
Okay. So, well, we're now going to go over to our we're now going to go over to our chat room. So it has been very busy. There's lots of things coming through. So we've had an opinion from Jamie, who said we do a mix and match email that goes out. We hold a huddle 30 minutes later. Anything we discuss is put on the whiteboard, all of which is updated to the email chain as a recap. We're in multiple countries and find this helps to refer back to. Katie, I know that you said that you're on multiple sites. Is that, you know, something that you think is of interest?
Yeah, no, it definitely. One of the things we've actually got an email that goes out to our team leaders as well, sort of a management one. And one of the things I thought about with that, and we haven't quite got right yet, is how we sort of if they've got any questions from that, how we feed them back. So it's really interesting to see that a way that that's practically being done. That's really helpful. We're quite fortunate in that our contact center is on one site. So whilst our business is split, the whole contact center team is in one site, which makes it easier. But yeah, that sounds like a great idea.
So Monica said emails are more effective and saves time, but we also have meetings. Stephanie, what are your thoughts on that one?
I don't really agree with Monica that much. I don't think emails save time. I find email quite time consuming. The time to actually write an email, send the email, receive the email, open the email, and actually act on it. Best case scenario, a few minutes, but I would say usually a few hours and sometimes days. So my opinion, my experience, I found email very time consuming and very slow paced, but again, different experience maybe as well.
And there's also a chance that you could miss it, if you're getting lots of emails in, then potentially, you could just red flag it and save it for later and never actually get to it. So, whereas with a meeting, potentially you are kind of there. So yeah, there isn't a chance to kind of miss that information. So Seema said, we send a lot of emails, but I'm not happy about this. There's no guarantee these are read. There we go. And apart from team meetings and huddles, which I think are more effective, I can't think of anything else. So yeah, Katie, what are your thoughts on the kind of meeting versus email type thing?
Definitely. I'd 100% say we would always say face-to-face meetings are most effective. I think emails save time in terms of there's no downtime from the phones. We sort of, you expect it to be sort of squished into calls, whereas taking everyone off the phones does, it affects that. I think this is a really good point. There's very little social is another option, and I think what we've tried to do is make the emails that we do send more effective. So that's what I was talking about targeting them and being able to have reporting on them. So there's no guarantee that these are read, and what we're looking at is actually being able to look at whether they are read and which ones are effective from that perspective. But I agree. I think it's an ongoing challenge, but I think face-to-face is always going to be the most effective communication channel.
Well, thank you. So Saprita said, we have Yammer, but people don't seem to want to use it. How did you get people to buy into the Google Plus community? Katie, this one's obviously directed at you.
I think as I sort of mentioned in the presentation, I think the really important thing is that there is a need for it. I think sometimes I've seen this in other areas of our business actually, where they've been like a bit jealous of the customer services kitchen sink and thought, oh, we want a social platform. But actually in those areas, they've been able to have team meetings and people haven't been as keen to get on board. And in those scenarios, it hasn't worked as well. If, however, you think there really is a use for it and to really get it going, I think what I would say is it's about getting some key sort of ambassadors or people who are sort of really utilising your people who are keen. And for us, when we got started, we had our engagement team really sort of pushing some of the content and making it clear what was working on there. But then also we had some other people primed to be sharing content. And finally, I'd say also get your sort of management team on there as well. There is, it makes me sad how we can spend hours doing our internal comms things, but as soon as the customer services director puts something on there, it's the most liked thing. But it's 100% always going to be the case. And if you can get your managers on there sharing content, even funny content as well. Like we have silly videos from our management team, and that gets people on there, that gets people looking at it. And once they're there, then they're going to look at everything else that you want them to be looking at as well. Yeah,
I think from looking at how you guys have used it, I've used Yammer in the past at a previous company, and it was more for kind of the praise stuff, whereas I think it needs to be across the board. It needs to be that kind of lost and found. It needs to be the funny videos, so that it becomes almost you're always looking, not always looking at it, but it's that thing that isn't just for this, it is used across the board. So that everyone can feel that they can get involved. It's not just, oh, well done, this has happened. So
one
we've
of
had
our most liked things actually was a daily goat. We had a guy who was posting a goat every day. It's completely boggling as why that was the funniest, but that got everyone talking.
Yeah, I think we've actually done an article on our website about your daily goat and included photos. So yes, I'm sure someone will put that into the chat room so that everyone else can experience it. So John sent in a tip. He said, for those who rely on email, when receiving lots of information by email from different sources, all with their own speciality, make sure that somebody dedicates first captures it, sifts it through and condenses before send it on to agents in a condensed format per subject. Email is not inherently bad, but needs to be easy to navigate and read to make sure people do it, and also can retain it for future reference. Instead of all agents needing to view, e.g. 15 mails of 5 subject areas per day, they only get 5 mails compiled per subject area. Stephanie, I don't know what your thoughts are on that one.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, definitely, because there is so much information in the emails. You don't know what is what's a priority, what's not. There's just some noise, and yeah, email is just becoming mass communication in the contact center, creating a lot of noise, and agents don't necessarily have the time to go through everything, so they might definitely miss some important information. So yeah, I agree with John. I think that's a good tip to try to solve the problem, to try to classify things together per subject, or just to make it a bit easier for people to find the information. So yeah.
Okay, thank you. We've got time for one last question, which is from Dan, and it's he said, do you plan in offline time for agents to ensure your updates are being read, or do they need to utilize their own available time? Katie, I'm sure you want to take that one.
Yeah, so we don't currently, and it's something we are actively talking about at the moment. Because previously we didn't have any reporting on our cascades, we weren't really, we get feedback that it's hard to have time to read them, but we didn't really have any data that could back that up. So whilst we don't give them time at the moment, now that we've got that reporting, we're looking at sort of the read rates. We do have a high open rate, so we think that they probably do have time to read them because they come in at the beginning of the day, but it's something that we are always looking at adding in, and would definitely consider if we can see that actually they're just not having the time to read them.
Okay, great. And so delighted to now hand over to the second part of our agenda to Stephanie Lee from RingCentral. I will make you the presenter. There we go.
Right. Can everyone see my screen?
I can't at the moment. I'll take it back and make you the presenter. Oh dear, I've just taken it back as soon as it had gone live. Apologies.
Let's try again.
Perfect, there it is.
Fun. Great. So good afternoon, everyone. So I'm Stephanie Lee. I am product marketing manager here at RingCentral. And today I'll be talking to you about collaborative, what we've called here the collaborative contact center, which is essentially bringing collaboration into your contact center. So in terms of agenda today, I want to touch a few things with you. So I want to talk about some of the key challenges in the contact center today, and I'm sure most of you as professional in the contact center will be familiar with these challenges. And then I want to talk to you about collaboration in the contact center, and how that can really help you to tackle some of these key challenges, and how this will have a great impact on your agent experience, agents' motivation, engagement, but also on your customer experience. So in terms of challenges, we know that the contact center is full of challenges, and here are just some of the, I guess, key challenges that are sort of like, linked to communication, but as we know, there are a lot more than that. First of all, I want to talk a little bit about isolation. So contact center is an isolated function, isolated department, usually with a specific team, working in sometimes a different building, on a different site, and even like in a different country or region. And this isolation really sort of like generates a lack of communication, the big barriers between the contact center and the rest of the organization. So as we mentioned earlier, like, the marketing department or finance or products or anything, sales, there is this huge disconnect. And this lack of communication is not just between the contact center and the rest of the organization, but also a lack of internal communication within the contact center, because everyone is, just really busy on the phone. The main focus is obviously, taking care of customer, and there's no time to really sort of like communicate in this contact center. There's also a lack of recognition. I'm sure we all agree on that one. Being an agent in the contact center is a tough job. It can be very repetitive, and it can also be very stressful dealing with, angry customers or complaints. It can be very stressful, and this lack of recognition, this lack of communication, this sort of like isolation is really playing on the agent engagement, on their motivation, on their happiness. And this translates by absenteeism. I've read somewhere that the rates, the current absenteeism rates, it's an average, is around 11%, which is quite high. If you think of a contact center with 100 agents, that means only 89 agents at a time. But also high attrition. Contact center experiencing high turnover, and every time you lose a train agent, that means you have fewer agents to actually ensure the quality of your contact center, the quality of service you're giving to customer. And that's also a huge cost if you think of, being as a contact center, having to find new people, to hire them, and then to train them. It's a lot of time, it's a lot of cost, and all of this is impacting, the quality of the service you're delivering to customers. So huge impact on the customer experience. Now, specifically in terms of communications, we said there is a clear lack of internal communication in the contact center, and this generates some slow ramp-up times, very time-consuming sharing of information. So, as we've seen today in the poll, like 98% of contact center of people here on this webinar are relying on email as the main communication tool in the contact center. And as I said, email it's just not working. It's very time consuming. It's creating a lot of noise in my contact center, and I don't know what's a priority information and what's not. So it's making things very hard, very time consuming. And again, it's not great if you think, if I'm talking to a customer, I'm on the phone right now and I'm going to chat, and I need to provide this customer with some fast resolution, fast information, and I can't access this information because I'm relying on email. That's making the whole process long and frustrating for the customer. And also today, this lack of communication also creates, people working in siloed. I don't necessarily have time. I don't have tools to interact with agents around me, with maybe a trained agent, someone who's a little bit more experienced, or with my supervisor, let alone someone outside the contact center. So we've mentioned being able to do some cross-function, sort of like communication, so being able to talk to a department outside the contact center. Today, that's something that's very, very difficult. And again, all of this is playing on the service of the quality you're providing to customer. It's making first-time contact resolution a little bit more difficult. And obviously, customers are becoming frustrating. I want quick information, quick service, quick resolution. And if I don't have that, if you as a business, you're the contact center, can't provide me with a great experience, with a quality and fast service, then I'm going to show you my wallet, actually. And that brings us to the next slide, which I think it's kind of shocking. It's high. UK businesses today are losing £37 billion every year due to poor customer service. Just because I can't provide a good service to a customer, this customer will decide to abandon a purchase with me, or to actually go into business with my competitor. So it's really time to sort of like be like, hey, let's do something about it. Customer experience is key. I don't want to lose opportunity. I don't want to lose money as a business, and I want to do be able to provide a great service. And that's where what we've called the collaborative contact center comes into play. So essentially, that's really bringing collaboration into the contact center. That's bringing collaboration, real-time communication in the contact center. Being able to access key information very quickly and very easily. I know what I need and I know where to find it. So collaboration really brings a platform for agents to get better and to provide, better and faster service to a customer. So if you think I'm an agent and I'm currently on the phone with a customer and I'm dealing with an issue I'm not necessarily comfortable with, or I might be new in the contact center, I'm not quite sure what to do, I have the ability to quickly go real time and ask the question to maybe a more experienced agent, to supervisor, or even someone outside the contact center, someone from the marketing department. Hey, you know, can you tell me a little bit more about this campaign, what it's about? You know, I've got a customer on the phone, or just making sure that you can provide like a better service, something more personal, and you know exactly what's going on in the business. And again, you don't need to wait for a human email or very slow communication. Everything is happening real time. But also collaboration, as we said, for complex problem solving. So being able to reach out to experts outside the contact center and sometimes even outside my organization. But it's also a way for agents, also a platform for agents to be able to have a one-to-one chat, have something, you know, if you want to talk something personal or fun or not necessarily work-related, but again, helping create this sort of like more, I'll say more fun, more rewarding environment for agents. It's hard to, you know, be talking to customer all day long on the phone, email, and sometimes you just need this time to be able to exchange and have a chat, or you know, anything a little bit more informal with people in the contact center or outside the contact center, and that gives you this platform that will help agents evolve in a more sort of like fun and relaxed environment. So now as I've talked about this collaborative contact center, that's what it kind of like looks like. So here, that's like a live, that's showing basically, that's a screenshot of my collaboration platform. And as you can see, there's like three main parts. So on the left, I've got all the different people I can talk to. This could be like agent in my contact center, could be supervisor, or people outside the contact center. But then I can also create some team or some groups around a specific subject, or, you know, as we said, something like that could replace a team meeting, or and then, as you can see on the middle bit of my screenshots, that's where the conversation is taking place. So either a conversation with like a one-to-one conversation, or a group conversation. So if you think my team meeting, or a conversation around a specific topic or a specific campaign, again, could be anything, you know, based on your specific business and type of needs. And then on the right, I can access all the different files and documents that have been shared with a specific person or within a specific team. And you can use that as a sort of like a knowledge base in a way to be able to access key information, and again, being able to access information while, I think the good thing about it is like I can access this platform while on the phone or while replying to an email to a customer. So it's really real-time access to information. So I don't have to tell my customer, wait, I'm going to transfer you to another agent, or I'll call you back later on, or can you please call me back? Or again, this is really building frustration for your customer, but here you can do everything real time. And also the good thing about it is like it's really multi-device. So you can access this platform on your desktop while being on your contact center console. But you can also access it on a tablet or on a phone. So it's really bringing real-time collaboration anywhere, anytime. If you're remote, for example, if you're a remote agent and you feel like really isolated at home, it's being able to feel part of something, feel part of your team and the wider organization. The next slide, this slide is showing a different application of, you know, collaboration in the contact center. That's probably more relevant as a supervisor. So again, same platform as you can see with my three parts. all my people on the left, my main conversation, and some of the key documents and file on the right. And here I can really, I can actually automate some notification alerts. So for example, let's say if my service levels are dropping, or if I've got a queue that's really busy and I need to move agents from one queue to another, I can have this, I can receive this information automatically. It's all configured based on whatever, you know, is important for me. And everything is happening automatically, seamlessly, again, to help me, you know, find a solution very quickly. And everything is always thinking quick and, you know, speed and quality of response in order to avoid the frustration, in order to be able to provide a great experience to my customer at any time. So yeah, as we've seen, there's many different benefits of bringing collaboration and real-time collaboration in the contact center. It's very easy, it's non-intrusive, it's completely transparent for your customer, and it really helps agents, you know, being able to access experts, but also creating a less sort of stressful and more fun and a more real, I guess, environment. So it's helping boosting agents' motivation, engagement, their productivity, the speed of response and resolution for your customer, and ultimately it's going to help you to build some strong relationship with your customer and really avoid this situation where, you know, if we go back to the slide of the 37 billion pounds that UK businesses lose every year, you don't want this to happen anymore. And collaboration is not the solution for everything, definitely not, but I think it's a big step, it's a big key to really help with internal communication and internal collaboration in your contact center, but also with the wider organization. So before I finish the presentation, I just want to tell you a little bit more about RingCentral. So RingCentral is a leading provider of cloud unified communication solution and also cloud contact center solutions. So we work with many contact center in the UK, but also Europe and the US. And we've had some great feedback of, you know, from this solution. Collaboration is definitely still some of the key challenges some of our customers are facing. And I'll finish with this sentence that kind of recaps some of everything we do as a business. We really empower our customers to be more productive and ultimately more responsive to their customer. And that's what we do here with the collaborative contact center, putting you in charge, helping you be more productive and be much more responsive with your customer. So that's it for me today. Thanks for your time. And if you have any question, or if you're interested to know a little bit more about us and what we do, I'm happy to take any question or have a chat afterwards. So thank you very much.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Stephanie, for that. Yeah, lots of interesting insights, especially into the collaborative function of the platform and everything. So going over back to our chat room, we've had quite a lot of things coming in. So Debbie said we actually provide our agents 15 minutes at the beginning of their shifts to read emails and to go on our SharePoint site to read updates. Katie, I guess that's a great way of, you know, being able to have that time to do it.
Yeah, definitely. And yeah, I think we will look to do that in the future. As I said, we're sort of looking at our data first, but I think absolutely, if you can give your advisors and agents, you know, time to do it, then you're going to know that it's more effective.
Brilliant. So Seema said, we have team mailboxes with subject folders where messages are stored centrally, taking away the need for everyone to save individual emails. This also makes it easier to find an email when required, which is good, which is great. Saprita's asked, we get a lot of people complaining that they want less clicks to get to their info. So if you move from email to Yammer, as an example, it's still a number of clicks. Is it still a number of clicks? Katie, I know you're not using Yammer, but as an example of using Google+.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. I think for me, I would probably do more digging into what it is around the clicks, because I completely get, we have a problem where we have different systems, and one of the issues that we have with like information is that it's actually navigating away from the system. So in terms of our next step to improving our sort of knowledge and sharing, all that sort of thing, we're looking at how we can actually integrate a lot of that into our customer management system so that we minimize clicks in that way. So actually the information is there when they need it. And I think, you know, that's where we would really like to get to. And again, it's more challenging. So yeah, I think if you know, if we're using Google Plus, for example, it is probably as many clicks as email. I think it's just about how simple it is to access that information. And I'd probably ask more around the advice around what it is around those clicks, like, you know, watch what they're doing and try and work out where the sticking points are, because it might be that actually, because this system's here, it's actually easier even though it's more clicks, or yeah, I don't think social is going to reduce the clicks, but I'd dig more into that to see exactly the journey that they're doing and how you can improve it.
Yeah, and Stephanie, what?
Something.
Yes.
Yeah, sorry.
I was going to say, what's your platform?
I think the key here is integration, sort of like building an ecosystem where sort of like everything can work together rather than adding new systems, adding new clicks. That's going to, you know, create a lot more work, and that's going to be very time consuming for your agents. So I think the key here, it's not necessarily adding a new system, but it's making sure that if you do add a new system, that's really going to integrate into what you have right now, and everything's going to be easier and smooth access to my information, smooth access from one system to another. I think that's the key here.
Brilliant, thank you. So Debbie's asked, the idea of team meetings is a great idea and we attempt to have them when we can, but how do you manage team meetings when it's so difficult to get people off the phones? And also the fact that there are so many different schedules with people coming in at different times. Katie, I don't know how you cope with your team meetings.
Yeah, I probably more one of our operational sort of team leaders would be better place to answer this question. One thing we have actually done recently, though, is we have aligned our shifts so that the team leader and the team are all on the same shift pattern. So that makes it much easier for team meetings, so that at least we know that everyone in that team is in at the same time, so that then if they're having their team meeting, they will all be there. But yeah, it certainly is a challenge. It's a real hard thing for us. Sort of, we've got some part-time staff, we've got home working, and I'm not sure we've completely fixed it yet. I think sort of Stephanie's solution, like the collaborative sort of stuff, it is where that comes into play. Things like Google Hangouts, things like sort of online meetings and things like that is probably where we would go with that. But it's always a challenge.
Yeah, and I suppose that's where the social platform kind of comes in, like Google Plus, where, you know, you don't all have to be in at the same time, but you can still share that information.
Mm-hmm.
So we've had a tip in from Judith, who said you can always take people off in skill groups or randomly depending on your resource team. Don't be scared to talk to them. The face-to-face time is great for advisors and lets them get to know those around them, which I think is what we've been talking about today. So Ramala said, we currently run a split team meetings, 2 sessions, 2 hours each, where officers start late. We change their work patterns for the day, i.e. starting earlier and leaving earlier. This really has no effect on our performance, but it's great for the officers as they get to take part in the meetings. We activate a long wait message for customers, so we manage expectations, and an email option that this really works. So I think we've actually got time for one last tip, which has come in from Paul, and he said a communication platform which allows agents to collaborate is only really useful when the categories are clear. If there's too much fun stuff intermingled with useful business processes, product information and guidance, then it loses its credibility. If the platform can be linked to an effective knowledge base, this should provide the correct balance. Knowledge management is not only about using a knowledge base in isolation, it's actually all about intelligent sharing. Stephanie, I don't know what your thoughts are on that one.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think it's important to find the right balance between what's key, what's really important in terms of knowledge for your contact center and the fun stuff. I think both are really important. because you also need to create this sort of like more informal environment for your agents. And again, I think I'll go back to what I've shown earlier in my presentation, but I think that's a great way to be able. You can have like different groups that where you can share documentation, like kind of like create a knowledge base around a specific team or a specific issue facing any contact center. And you can also have a part that's a little bit more fun. And so it's really about being able to organize things and make it clear what it's all about. So I think again here, like collaboration can really help.
Yeah. Oh, well, thank you very much. So unfortunately, we've reached the end of the webinar. I just want to ask if you'd like to put in 1 or 2 words, what did you like best about the webinar? If you put that into the chat room. Today's winning tip is from Seema, who says short instant messages can also be sent via MS Communicator, links, Skype to multiple team members. So congratulations to them. Just to let you know, we do have our post-webinar survey. If you could fill it in, it's only 4 questions long. And if you'd like to see a demonstration of the RingCentral software, there's an option to be able to add that into the survey. Just a reminder that we have taken a replay and that will be available later on today. We will be back at 3 o'clock for our final webinar in the conference, 7 strategies to improve staff retention. So I just want to say thank you very much to our 2 speakers today. To Katie from OVO Energy, thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.
And to Stephanie from RingCentral, thank you very much as well.
Thank you.
And I'll see you all again in about an hour. Bye.